dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll.
Beware all who enter.
These benighted halls of stone,
Within lies no solace,
nor any comforts of home.
toiling for our crimes,
We must dig where we dwell,
with no freedom or mercy.
in our vast stony hell.
Hey, Rob, what a
Hey,
cheery
Matt.
way to begin a bonus episode.
Welcome to Stone Hell.
Oh, yeah.
We are back with a special bonus episode covering something that we have talked about doing for a while, but that's a Megadungeon, and specifically a Megadungeon that is not a 5e or Paizo product. We grabbed a popular, I think it's popular third-party one that came
Popular for an OSR product.
Yes.
And that is Stonehell Dungeon Down Night Haunted Halls. We're talking about part 1, and this is by Michael Curtis.
This was recommended to me, or I found this on the Shadow Dark Discord and subreddit and a couple of other places. This is something that a lot of OSR folks like, and for good reason. It's pretty cool.
And when Rob said, I want to do a Megadungeon by Michael Curtis, I was like, Michael Curtis, that sounds really familiar. I've run, I think, 2 of his modules that he has written for Goodman Games before, and they're a lot of fun. So when you said, let's do a Michael Curtis Megadungeon, I'm like, I've liked that designer's other work. This is going to be awesome. And it was.
He's a great designer, and there's a lot to recommend this dungeon. One, I think that it would be fun to run and to play in. But 2, I was just really delighted with how it was written and laid out and how the information was presented. And I want to talk about that at length, as well as some of the specifics of the dungeon, which are pretty cool, because I think there's a lot to learn, a lot that you can borrow, even if you're not going to run the dungeon. And frankly, some great tips for designing your own games or even taking notes. I thought that this was really, really smartly done.
Should you read this? And I would say, if you're at all interested in Megadungeons, like, wouldn't it be nice, even if you don't want to run someone else's, to have a good example of one done well? And I think you could do no better than to find a great example of, oh, hey, this is how I could organize my stuff, and this is why it's interesting. And I can do this too.
Plus, this is $7. It's pretty inexpensive, and if you run D20 games, if you're anything D&D derived or related, and you want to do a Megadungeon, or you're curious about Megadungeons, this is worth your time for sure.
And if you're worried, like, is this compatible with whatever? It's written with Labyrinth Lord in mind, but if you've done any OSR stuff, doing a conversion on the fly is super easy for any OSR system. And if you want to run it in, let's say, Pathfinder 2e or D&D 5e, pretty much every monster in here you could find something to skin or fix up. There's a bunch of unique monsters, but you're going to find something equivalent in any well-supported fantasy role-playing game system.
Yeah, it would be very easy to do this in 5e or Pathfinder. It would be trivial to do it in any OSR or OSR-derived game. And like Matt said, and really anything fantasy related, the conversions are very simple, and it is written with that in mind, and it works. It's done very, very well. I think that's one of the coolest things about this, is that it's incredibly easy to adapt if you want to do so.
Yeah. And I think it's it's a great example of adding connections between things, doing a little bit of work to make the dungeon seem like real and lived in. Like, why are these monsters here? Why are these monsters here? Like, making connections between different groups and factions within the dungeon, but without getting too finicky about it, right? Enough things are hand waved that if you're a DM like me, okay, this is just enough level of realism in my hack and slash game.
Yeah, this is what I think I like the most about it, is that I think it strikes the perfect balance between paying attention to dungeon ecology and factions and connections between levels and between sections of the dungeon without becoming aggressively bogged down in like this monster is part of the food chain of this subsection. Right. And it's that is good. We've talked about dungeon design before, and I think that you should consider what's everything doing there, right? But I don't think that you should really a lot of there's been a push among a lot of nerdier designers recently to really dig deep on like how the precise ecology of the dungeon works, and you can always just say a wizard did it, and I think this does a really good job of being like these parts connect to these parts, and then also saying but a wizard did it. Like it leaves you a lot of room to work, but it feels very cohesive.
Speaking of a lot of room to work, this dungeon also like answers a lot of questions, like why is this here? What's going on? Who are these people? Thanks everyone for listening to this preview of our Patreon episode on Stonehell. If you'd like to hear the whole thing as Rob and I go through all of the cool stuff in the various levels of Stonehell and how to run it in your own games or how to use its layout style, how to steal from it, you can head over to patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None. Or, if you just want to check out Stonehell on your own, follow the link in the show notes. And up next is a preview of our latest Patreon episode about Hot Springs Island.
Yeah, Matt's right. You could have a whole adventure within an adventure, like in this decaying, ooze-filled, magic-infested elven city. Like there's so much going on here.
And it ties back to the larger plot in that the rest of the elves, the ones that didn't die here in the cataclysm, like live on in the plains in this like, like they have an OPEC like
they have an extraplanar consortium that controls all kinds of and it is in a trade war with the guys who hired Svarku, this Ifriti, and they're all trying to get the coke jet fuel spice from this island. It's again, none of this actually really has to come up in your players could be here for a year and it would never necessarily be important, but if you want to, it's there,
right? And if you want it to be a place that they run past the creepy oozes to get to the place that the Marids sent them and then get out, it's also fine for that too. And I think this is speaking of Svarku, the Ifriti Lord, this is a great example of if you do have someone that you're really sure you want your players to get to, fairly quickly, put them on a thing that is unavoidable. Because in the center of the island, there's a giant active volcano.
That's right.
And I just cannot imagine players not wanting to be like, maybe we should go to that big volcano in the center. There's certainly a lot of like magma dudes running around. People keep talking about this guy who lives there. Also, just geographically, we could go up to that mountain and like see the whole island and plan where we want to go next. Okay, right. Yeah, your players are going to put the person or thing or faction or location that you're sure you want your players to go to in a big, unavoidable, centrally located thing.
Yeah, and this is in the example of play, but it makes perfect sense, especially if your players are shipwrecked or otherwise brought here against their will. The first thing they're probably going to want to do is go to the center of the island and look around, right? Get a sense for the geography of it. And if they do that, they will go to this volcano where they will probably encounter a lot of stuff about Svarku and unavoidably learn about this guy one way or another. This this volcano has one of my favorite bits from the whole adventure, which is the Plaza of the Four Aspects, which are these hilariously like overwrought statues that Svarku had made of himself, where he's like holding like a weeping ogre child as he saves it, and another where he's, burdened by the great responsibility of his intellect, and, another where he's a powerful wizard, head wreathed in smoke. I mean, this guy.
And then the players meet Svarku, and he's just like, he's like what your worst cousin would be like if he became the Godfather,
Yes,
he's just like, well, want to hang out and party.
He's like
he's in over his head. He's made too many deals to get too many like luxuries, and things are going bad. Plus, he's just kind of an asshole, but in a fun, charming way.
He's like Christopher. He's Moltisanti in Sopranos.
He's Christopher Moltisanti.
Yeah, he's like,
what if he became the
what if he
boss
became
of bosses?
immensely powerful? Like, what if he became Godfather? And he's just a guy who's very rich, in over his head, and now he's kind of like fucked up his whole thing, and he's just trying to keep the good times going. He's desperate for approval. He's trying to keep his remaining servants from becoming too unhappy. This is one of my favorite villains that I have ever encountered in any TTRPG. I love this guy. I'm going to steal him for something.
Yeah, he is absolutely a central villain, and he's like a great launching point for further campaigns, right?
Yeah.
Because if you kill him or do something with him, things will happen beyond Hot Spring Island that are kind of outside the purview of this book, but maybe in them. You're given a lot of information on what you could do next. You're going to want to keep playing around with the consequences of Christopher Moltisanti, Freddy Lord. So that brings me, we brought up two things, which is like how to start this adventure, and we're now talking about inevitably the factions. Which one do you want to go to next?
Well, yeah, let's talk about how to start. We kind of skipped over this, but there's no guidance given on how.
Thanks again for listening to this preview, everyone. And if you want the full episode, head over to patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None, and be sure to check out The Dark of Hot Springs Island by Swordfish Islands.